What is Michael Arrington's next act? Should you follow him? In the year 2008, Michael was named one of the world's most influential people by Time magazine. And now, this man is planning to be a full-time crypto investor.
Invest!
And today, we will be talking about Michael Arrington. What are his future actions in the crypto market? If you want to stay up to date with all the crypto news, you need to like and subscribe. Don't miss anything. Be aware of bulls and bears in the future. Welcome to the XRP legend. Michael Arrington is the creator and former co-editor of TechCrunch, a well-known blog that covers the Silicon Valley tech startup scene as well as the broader technology industry in the United States and abroad. The site also features and assesses internet entrepreneurs, products, and services, with just a mention of a company on its pages having the power to make or ruin a business. Arrington made news in 2009 when he announced his ambition to release the Crunchpad, a high-tech e-reader, but the project was shelved in November due to a disagreement with his partners. Arrington's net worth is derived from the web publication TechCrunch, which he founded. Arrington was born in Huntington Beach, California, and grew up in Surrey, England. He studied economics at Claremont McKenna College and graduated from the University of California, Berkeley. He moved on to Stanford Law School, where he earned his law degree in 1995.
Study.
At O'Melveny & Myers and Wilson Sosany Goodrich & Rosati, he handled corporate and securities law. After obtaining $100 million, Arrington abandoned the practice of law to join Real Names, which failed. Arrington was a co-founder of Akex, an internet payments startup that was acquired by First Data Corp for $32 million and is now the online backend for Western Union. In 2011, Arrington, M.G. Siegler, and Patrick Gallagher co-founded Crunch Fund, a startup finance firm. Crunch Fund invested in Bluefly, an online store, in 2014. Bluefly was purchased for $13 million by affiliates of Clearlake Capital Group in May 2013.
That's a lot of money.
Melissa Painter, the former CEO of Bluefly, has returned to the company as a result of Crunch Fund's investment. Arrington began work on the Crunchpad in July 2008, more than a year before the iPad was released. The Crunchpad was designed to fill a gap between desktop computers and laptops with an economical tablet computer. However, disagreements erupted between Arrington and the Crunchpad developers he had recruited. Michael Arrington announced the launch of a $100 million hedge fund in November 2017. The fund would be based on the XRP cryptocurrency. It was said to be the first fund to be denominated in a cryptocurrency rather than dollars or euros. More than 50 crypto businesses have received funding from the fund. But Arrington stated in 2017 that he was switching gears and becoming a full-time crypto investor, and despite a tumultuous ride since then, he doesn't appear to be looking back, as he stated in a recent interview from his new home in Miami. He came to Miami for the first time in decades earlier this year on vacation and was just having a good time.
Vacation.
It could have been because it was one of the first times he had gone out and socialized since COVID. It's possible that some of it is due to the fact that it's actually rather pleasant here in the winter. He arrived in February, but he simply fell in love with the place and became acquainted with the mayor and a few of the locals. Many of his friends had already come here, mostly from New York and San Francisco, and it felt extremely friendly. The municipal administration appears to care about its residents and wants them to be happy, or at the very least isn't attempting to make them unhappy. So far, he's discovered that individuals in Miami reside in 3 distinct locations. The first is downtown Miami, which is quite conveniently placed and is where most business is conducted. Another location south of that is where all of the schools are located, and it is more suburban, and this is where we live. The last region is Miami Beach, which is where all the action takes place. If you're a young entrepreneur looking for a place to start your business, they all seem to be in the downtown area. Many of the world's wealthiest entrepreneurs reside on Miami Beach, and those with children tend to gravitate south. Since he's now working in crypto, he still has a lot of Zoom meetings with people from Asia, Europe, Russia, and other parts of the world. However, there are a lot of face-to-face meetings here. He has already attended a few events in this city. It's pretty similar to Silicon Valley in 2005 when he launched TechCrunch. It's a tiny community with a lot of helpful folks. He began it simply because it was new, and he enjoys reinventing himself, something he believes more people should do. Many people get really good at something and then stick to it, never venturing out into the world. Despite the fact that some of the VCs he knows are multi-billionaires, they keep doing what they're doing. As he was going into crypto, he was speaking with Brad Garlinghouse, the company's CEO at the time, who informed him that some people had approached him about starting a venture fund or a hedge fund with Ripple's funding. That's intriguing, he remarked, since he's considering raising money. As a result, they looked into it. They eventually recognized it wasn't feasible due to tax considerations. Ripple owns a lot of XRP and uses it in various ways to improve the XRP ecosystem. However, if they were to put a large quantity of XRP into a new fund, that would be a tax-free transaction. But after the fund invests it, the underlying XRP would be taxed at capital gains rates based on a zero basis. Ripple owns a lot of XRP and uses it in various ways to improve the XRP ecosystem. However, if they were to put a large amount of XRP into a new fund, that would be a tax-free exchange, but once the fund invests it, the underlying XRP would be taxed at capital gains rates based on a zero basis, resulting in a massive tax bill. He began talking to various nonprofit foundations about doing the same thing at that point. Because foundations are exempt from paying taxes and earnings, it works well with them, and a couple of Silicon Valley foundations gave a significant amount of XRP to their first closing. And it was on this foundation that their money was built. Then they moved on to take on more LPs who contributed money, Bitcoin, or anything, but it all started with them. As a result, they owe a great deal to Ripple and XRP. They've also been really loyal to them. He wanted to be able to recycle funds endlessly, so he decided to start a hedge fund. We invest in private companies in the same way that a venture capital firm does, but we also have a really active staff in Asia, and when it comes to trading the venture fund, if you purchase Bitcoin and then sell Bitcoin, you're done. We refund to investors any proceeds we received from the transaction, and that's it. There's a level of nuance to that. For example, venture funds can typically recycle 25% of their capital, and some of the newer venture funds and crypto funds have progressed to the point where they can recycle indefinitely for a period of time and resemble hedge funds. But it wasn't the state of the art when they started our fund. Before saying anything, the SEC effectively let Ripple do its thing for half a decade, and Michael finds it strange that they filed a case on Jay Clayton's last day in office, as he was returning to private practice last year. He says he has no idea how this will play out. It all depends on whether or not XRP is considered a security, and that is dependent on securities rules enacted in the 1940s. Bitcoin and Ethereum both dropped by 80%. He believes XRP has dropped by 90%. That first year, he claimed, he lost 42% of his weight, so it was horrible. It's not good to have a 42% first-year exit rate. However, he attempted to outperform the market. So, in December of 2018, one of his big LPs enlisted and handed him another $30 million in XRP, which he used mostly to buy Bitcoin at $3,500, establishing a foundation of Bitcoin in his fund that he still holds today. People are longing and shorting, and there are a variety of unique derivatives markets with Bitcoin, ETH, and other cryptocurrencies. There are perpetual future contracts where people are waggering, and you can see how the longs and shorts stack up. And right now, we're seeing a lot of Bitcoin shorting in various forms. When this happens, you may see short squeezes, which cause the price to skyrocket. So when the market becomes extremely short, we get really positive because you can see squeezes occur, driving the price up as individuals sell their holdings and have to buy to cover them. When Bitcoin was performing great, it was historically a great time to buy it, and this will continue to be true until it is no longer true. As a result, he remains positive in down markets while remaining cautious in up ones. He has no idea what market we're in right now. He believes we're in the midst of an uptrend with a 60 to a 90-day halt in the middle. Cryptocurrencies, particularly Bitcoin, are intrinsically anti-statist. It's attempting to wrest control of money from the state in the name of economic liberty, and people either agree or disagree. As an American, avoiding crypto taxes is quite difficult at this stage, and he makes no attempt to do so. He claimed he merely pays his taxes, smiles, and walks away. However, many individuals are interested in crypto for money rather than politics, which is all right. There are a lot of multi-billionaires that own a lot of cryptos, which is why we need to see more people get involved in crypto so that the wealth is divided more evenly. So, there you have it. And with that, we have come to the end of our video. We hope you enjoyed the video, and let us know in the comments how much your crypto will be worth next year. Make sure to subscribe and give us a thumbs up. See you tomorrow.